Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. For those of you who do not know me yet, my name is Dr. Princess Fumi Hancock. I'm an African, a Nigerian princess that's living in Diaspora out in Arizona here. Those in Arizona know me as a board-certified psychiatric mental health doctor of nurse practice with practice out in Arizona, California, New Jersey, and some other places. And of course, people call me the Princess of Suburbia, the Princess in Suburbia off of the social platforms. Others call me your compassionate trauma care maestro. So welcome to my channel. Welcome to my podcast. If you have not gotten a chance to take a look at what I have, the goodies I have for you in store for you in my podcast, please Google Tear the Veil with Dr. Fumi, F-U-M-I. Tear the Veil with Dr. Fumi. I can be seen in most platforms, podcast platforms, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and a host of others. All right. And of course, on YouTube, I can be seen as the Princess of Suburbia and also on the International Diaspora Network channel. So thank you so much for joining me. So, just recently I did an episode, and that episode had to deal with trauma. I was talking about people making sure that we're not underestimating other people's trauma, that we're not stomping on other people's trauma. And so during this, I happened to give an example, and the example of the one that I gave was that of the American paparazzi, Meghan, and the husband. All right. So, well. I did not realize that I was going to get a lot of comments, a lot of people writing me over that, a lot of angry people. They were just incredibly angry. And why were they angry? Some even went as far as telling me, oh, Meghan does not have any trauma. This person doesn't, the husband, Harry doesn't have trauma. I mean, all sorts of things. So, number one, thank you for the comments. Number two, thank you for liking. Number three, thank you for subscribing. Let me just put that out there. Now, while I do understand, right, some even went as far as questioning my degree, And I'm like, wait a minute, all I did was 15 minutes of a show about trauma. And the only thing that people could focus on, at least few of them could focus on, was the fact that they just didn't like Harry. They just didn't like Meghan. They hated Meghan because of Harry. I mean, all sorts of things. And the truth be told, when I saw all the plethora of comments, it just proved my point. People are getting more angry. People are getting more, just more dissociated. People are not listening to one another. People are not being compassionate anymore. There is no empathy. Empathy is eluding a lot of people, and it's very, very sad. Can I just say that again? It's very sad. Now, while as an African princess, right, as an African princess who happened to come from a royal family, perhaps maybe I have another inclination, another insight to this that maybe some other people would not ordinarily have. I know for a fact that when several years ago, at least almost 25 years ago now, when I decided to write my book, oh my God, didn't I get a backlash? And even some of the things that I wrote right now, in that book, my very first book, I think, some of them, because of the things that I wrote, even though they were my truth, some people within the royal family did not appreciate it. Right. So for me, someone like me, I can understand that there were some steps that I took back then that now, the now me, who is almost 60, will not do. Can I say that again? When I was younger, I was in pain. I was going through a lot. I wanted an outlet. I wanted somebody to hear me. And I knew that I came from a culture that was silent, that you do not tell your story out there. And that was my way of healing. Even though it was not appreciated by some, but it was still my own way of beginning my journey of healing. And because somebody makes a misstep, doesn't necessarily mean that we have to write them off. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have to now say all of a sudden, everything that they said, we don't want to hear. This is what happens when somebody eventually complete suicide, and then now we start talking again. Oh my God, somebody should have helped her. Da, 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 da. We need to quit judging people. We need to quit because, frankly, you're not living inside their home to even know the truth. You don't know if Meghan is experiencing or has experienced or did experience trauma. I personally don't have an idea, right? And so because of that, like I said earlier, I have my own opinion of things that I would not have done if I was them. But putting that aside, as somebody wearing a hat on psychiatry, I have to put that aside and look beyond and see probably pain that maybe some of you all are not seeing. But this episode is not even about them. I just wanted to do that and then segue into what I want to talk about. And what I want to talk to you about today is that we must stop stomping on each other's life stories. Can I say that again? Stop stomping, S-T-O-M-P-I-N-G. Stop stomping on your fellow human beings' life stories. You never lived with them. You don't know who they are. You really don't know, besides all the information, misinformation, right information, disinformation that we get on the internet, to even begin to hate anybody. So I've segued off of Meghan and Harry now, and just talking to you as a human being, and just asking you, do you have a life story? We all have a life story. I have a life story. And frankly, if somebody came up to me today and tried to undermine my life story, if somebody came up to me today and tried to undermine the fact that I had been in an abusive relationship, if somebody came to me today and tell me, oh, when you, princess, an African princess, was sleeping in a deep freezer in America, if someone said to me, oh, that's not true. If someone said to me, well, after all, you're an African princess, that should not be. If someone came to me now and started to talk to me about how my story doesn't matter, you better believe you're going to get a fight in your hands. Because here's the thing. My story is my story. Your story is your story. And nobody on the face of this earth has the audacity to even underestimate or stomp on your story. This is why a lot of women who have been abused before, a lot of women who's been raped, a lot of men who's been raped, a lot of women and men who's been through a lot in their lives, this is why they do not come out. They don't come out because of people out there who are eager to stomp on other people's life stories. And do you want to know why people stomp on that? Is because they themselves are not comfortable talking about their own life story. So when they do find someone who is beginning that journey, they're mad about it. I said it. They're mad about it because they've seen that person doing something that they don't have the nerve to do. Because you're not ready to tell your story doesn't make my story less than yours. It doesn't mean that because I've chosen to begin to walk the path of healing and recovering, which is different from everybody, doesn't necessarily mean it gives you or anybody the right to stomp on my story. So, where are we going with this, America? Where are we going with this, Nigeria? Where are we going with this, my people all over the world? I'm simply saying today, if you have a life story, don't allow any bullies to stop you from telling your truth. Because it is in you telling your truth that healing begins. I can tell you, as a matter of fact, it's almost 30 years now. Been through hell in my life when I used to live in New York, Staten Island precisely. Almost completed a suicide with 2 boys in my hands. I drove myself to Verrazano Bridge. If some of you are in New York, you know what I'm talking about. I was on the verge of plunging my car into that Verrazano Bridge against it when I saw flashes of my 2 boys, who were then 2 and 4 or 3.5, something like that. And when I saw their image about them crying in the hands of another woman, my goodness, I pedal back. Do you know that there are some people who did not have the opportunity to pedal back the way that I pedal back? Someone who had a degree, someone who let me tell you something. I came from a place where I did not lack any. And that is the honest truth. I did not lack anything. My dad made sure that we did not. We might not have had incredible a lot, but we never lacked anything. And so the shame and the guilt that how am I going to go back home to say that my marriage had failed? How do I do that? So I stayed away from the royal family. I stayed away, stayed away, and chose the path of completing suicide. But look at me today. If there was not a divine intervention, where would I be today? Would I even have the opportunity to now start helping other people in that journey? Today, as a psychiatric mental health doctor of nurse practice with my own clinics, I know what I'm talking about. Over 30 years of experience in social work and psychiatry. It is important that we allow people to tell their truth, to tell their stories, whichever way that they feel it. Yeah, right. It might not be what you want to hear. It might not be what you think. But because frankly, in my own family, you don't be telling things like that out. So I cannot understand the anger that some people feel towards that couple, because it's like, okay, that's not something you're supposed to tell. But then I did it to myself. And I bought, I bought a big brunt on my head over it. Some have gotten over it. Some are just stewing over it over 25 years. They're just stewing over it that did she really write that? But the truth is, it is my story. It is what I went through. I is the operative word. Not what you think I went through. Not what you read about me. But what I went through. And perhaps I can look back now and say, okay, maybe there are some parts of it maybe I shouldn't have even talked about. I should have just ignored it. But when you are in serious pain, you don't be thinking about that. Half the time people think that it's about money. They think it's about, oh, you wrote the book so to make money. But that wasn't it for me. In fact, my first book was a series of journals that I wrote in my journey. It was a series of journals. Then it was after I had about maybe 20 journals, and I said, wait a minute. Somebody else can benefit from this. And would you know that people are benefiting? 25 years later, people are still writing me and telling me, my goodness, that chapter, this chapter, what you said about here, oh my goodness. So if you're watching this, quit telling me that I'm ranting, because I'm not ranting. I'm just in discourse. It is my desire that whatever anger that we are going through right now, in this country, in this world, we need to quit it. We need to stop it and quit stomping on each other. Quit stomping on each other's stories. Quit stomping on each other's life stories. Quit stomping on each other. Keep getting angry about things. And trust me, I'm not angry. I'm just passionate about what I'm talking about right now. I'm very passionate. There's a difference. So let me just throw that out there before somebody else writes, quit getting angry. Quit, ranting. We have to learn to respect each other. We don't have to agree with each other, but we can respect each other's opinions. And we can say that, and say that in a manner that shows that we got some sense. That not only shows that we got some sense, but that shows that we were raised and raised well. So that when you do not agree with somebody, or when you are not sure about something, you don't have to start your stuff by saying, oh, F you, SHU, all kind of nonsense. Instead of just saying, whoa, I never thought it this way. This is my opinion. What are your thoughts? This is how civilized people deal with each other. We need to start being civilized with our own stories. Because you're not ready to tell your story doesn't mean that no other people are not ready. And when they're ready, we need to empower them. We need to support them. Even when we do not agree with them, we can safely, lovingly pull them and say, that part maybe you shouldn't have said. And then those people can listen and truly listen. And they can get something from it and gain from your wisdom. We all need each other's wisdom, and that's the truth. No matter how little we are, no matter how big we are, we got some wisdom nuggets embedded inside of us. And that's what people who are in trauma want from us. Not ranting, raving like you all said. They want us to be able to usher them in on that journey. Because frankly, half the time they don't even know. You have people who are traumatized by their own trauma, traumatized by other people's trauma, watching other people's trauma, watching other people being traumatized by other people's trauma. I mean, you got all the slew. But at the end of the day, we're human beings. Human beings. What separates us from animals is how we treat each other. Even animals, when you look at a tiger protects its cub, its our cub. A leopard rises up when it sees threat coming. If animals in the forest can learn that, it is about time we human beings bring that back into our lives. So I hope I've been able to be a blessing here. Until next time, be inspired, be motivated, be of sentimental value. Understand that you, my friend, you are the hero in your life story. Do not allow anybody to rewrite your story. You are powerful. You are magnanimous, like my son always say, and I love you all. Bye now.